Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this 21st day of July 2025. I told you we have Robert Mboi from Kathiani constituency. Good morning.
Morning, Sam. Morning, viewers.
Wilson Session, former nominated Member of Parliament. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Sam, and good morning, our viewers.
And do you have any plans of running for a constituency?
No, not at all.
Not at the moment?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
2027 is still very far, and we need to support the agenda of the country.
Okay, all right.
In the transformation of all the pillars, economic, political, and social pillars.
Okay.
Let's build the country first. Other things will fall in place.
Okay. Okay. You know, last time you ran for the Bomet seat, Senate. Yeah. Nelson Harvey is former LSK president. Yourself, you had some interest last time in Westlands.
I ran in Westlands.
Yeah.
I'm also considering running again this time.
Ah, okay. You have a new party or the same UDA party?
Well, we'll let the people decide which party is comfortable with. Whichever party they'll tell us, we will go with it.
Okay. And yourself, Mheshimiwa Mboi, are you defending?
Yeah, definitely in my party, Wiper.
Still going for the MP seat?
Yeah, currently I've not thought of any other position.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm comfortable where I am. At least I can be able to fight for the people.
All right, fighting for the people. Now, in the papers, I have no interest in running for election. You didn't ask anyway.
You will be reporting election results.
Okay, Raila, with Ruto until 2027. That's what he is saying. Wilson Session says that we should work until 2027. And the paper says that ODM leader Raila Odinga has for the first time rolled out an early political exit from the broad-based government, with the Kenya Kwanza administration declaring that he is firmly aligned with President Ruto at least until the 2027 general election. In a wide-ranging interview, the former PM proposed doing away with the voters register and allowing Kenyans to cast their ballots using only their IDs. He also criticized the impeached DP Rigathi Gachagua as divisive. That's the main story on the Daily Nation, but there's also that story of the arrest of activist Boniface Mwangi. On the front page of the Standard, they are going for the DCI this time, saying that they have gone rogue and saying from arresting politicians critical of the Ruto administration over their remarks to accusing rights activists of terrorism, the DCI has veered from the laughable to the outright absurd. Tasked with bringing science and professionalism to law enforcement, the agency now resembles a political hit squad that is doing the bidding of the powerful by enforcing vendetta, silencing critics, and trampling on fundamental freedoms with impunity. And they are saying that DCI Mohamed Amin appears hell-bent on dragging Kenya into the ranks of pariah states so long as he keeps the ruling elite satisfied. And you have an image there of Boniface Mwangi, who was arrested over the weekend and is expected to be arraigned this morning. So that's how the papers are looking like. And I want us to begin from that point of the IEBC and the preparations for elections 2027. They have been at the coast for an induction session. They have been planning, mapping out, but also understanding what the job they have come in to do. This is the commissioners and the chairperson. They gave a list of priorities. Let's first listen to them on what the chairperson said about requests that are coming in from the public.
We currently have roughly 4. We will look at them once we go back to the office. So going forward, of course, it's the right of every Kenyan to exercise that right of recall under the Constitution. And as IEBC, we will be there to do that which we can or which the law allows us. We will receive those petitions, we will examine them, and then we will, of course, respond to them.
All right, that's the chairperson of the IEBC saying that there are requests to recall members of parliament. Of course, that's provided for in the Constitution. And we wait to see, because when we spoke to them to give us the identities of those constituencies, they say that they could not disclose at the moment because they're yet to verify the threshold. And as soon as that has been done, and of course the commission briefed about it, they would be in a position to communicate. But also, he said something, because remember, before the 2022 general election, the voter registration had been stopped by the commission, and it has never resumed up until now. Here is what the chairperson says about that.
We hear the voices of young Kenyans demanding the opportunity to be counted and to be actively involved in these democratic processes of rebuilding our country, Kenya. The work of our Secretariat and now the full commission constituted has been laying the groundwork for the resumption of voter registration to ensure that no voice or no voices are left out.
All right, so that's where we are. We'll shortly be listening to more on what the Commission has to say when it comes to preparations for the 2027 election, including on the questions of ensuring that we have a credible register for the election. But at the same time, there are other questions of by-elections, and also we'll hear from that. But former President Harvey, talk to us about your take on some of those, the key priorities that IEBC is focusing on. Because, yes, the induction has happened, but still a lot of work to be done. What's your take at these early stages of the new commission?
I believe the main responsibility of my classmate and good friend, Ethicon and his commission, is to undertake mass voter registration. Look, voter registration under the Constitution and statute is supposed to be continuous. But for whatever reason in this country, voter registration only tends to take place 2 or 1 year to the election. It is imperative that this process be undertaken wholesomely, because statistics indicate that the number of Kenyans who have attained the age of majority since the last general election is close to 13 million. That is a very big number of people who ought to be in the voter register. 13? About 13, in my estimation.
Okay.
It's between 9 to 13. It's a big number. So these people ought to be in the voter register. I've said it many times before, and I resonate with what the Prime Minister Raila Odinga said.
Yep.
Fundamentally, by the time you gain the age of majority and you're given an identity card, that identity card should be, for all practical purposes, the tool that should enable you to vote. But until such a time as the law is amended to enable that, it is important that voter registration be undertaken. Secondly, the by-elections, they've been outstanding for so long a period that there are certain constituencies and areas of representation at the county level that have lagged behind. This has to be undertaken speedily. The recall of MPs, I think, is a little bit aspirational. I highly doubt if it will happen, bearing in mind the short period of time between now and the next election. I think the most important thing for now is to register voters and to undertake these by-elections.
Okay. Do you think that provision in the Constitution is tenable? Should we try it at some point?
It should be tried because it was put in the Constitution for a particular purpose. And you've seen many constituencies where the electorate has expressed genuine dissatisfaction in the manner in which their representatives have acted. Fundamentally, as soon as this regime came to power, you saw several MPs, I think they were the 8 or the 9 from the Azimio coalition, who were quickly incorporated into the Kenya Kwanza coalition. And this negates the entire essence of a constitutional democracy under a multi-party system. And I believe those are the core reasons within the Constitution that enable the recall of a member of National Assembly. There are many other aspects, including failure of performance, making wrong decisions on the floor of the House, and inability to do anything. We know of certain members of National Assembly who appear to be very proficient in public rallies outside there, but they never say anything in the National Assembly. What is their business then? I think they ought to be recalled. And
I don't know what your thoughts are, because, look, the Constitution just provides for that right of recall. It is the National Assembly that was supposed, it is Parliament that was supposed to pass an act to enact it. But if I recall correctly, there was a challenge and the High Court found it to be unconstitutional. So then, if IEBC is to pursue a recall process, how would they do it?
That's the reason why I've said for now it may not be a priority, because it's punctuated with a lot of doubts. For instance, the requirement that there must be a judgment of inability on the part of the person you want to recall, the collection of signatures, the verification of signatures. It's a laborious process.
Yep.
And I think to a large extent, Parliament is to be blamed for failure to put in elaborate legislation to effectuate this process. But what did you expect? Did you expect Parliament to put in place measures to enable their recall? I'm sure my two friends here may have a divergent view. But that's where we are for now.
Yeah, sorry, Mheshimiwa Susan, let me hear from Mheshimiwa Mboi first. On where we are about the process of recalling a member of Parliament as per an act of Parliament.
I don't know why you've just picked on me, Sam, because the order was to go to Susan.
You're a sitting member.
But you've jumped to me. Anyway, I agree with Harvey on that issue.
Yeah.
That first and foremost, it's really not priority. And the process is, you know, you've just said that the whatever legislation was deemed to be unconstitutional. You just said that. So basically, unless then it is brought back and taken as a priority. But you are right that really it cannot be serious priority for the members themselves to be coming up with a legislation that is kicking them out of office.
Yeah.
And I tell you, Sam, that if we are to have that legislation in place today,
yeah,
you'll be shocked the number of members who would be facing recall. I'm even impressed that at least four constituencies have tried it out. You know, that means that Kenyans are now waking up. I would encourage that this is something that we need to fast track, and then in future make sure that when people are elected, because it takes a very short time to discover whether you've made a mistake.
Yeah.
You know, you elect somebody, 5 years is a long time. If you get the wrong person, they can mess you up really big time within 5 years. So if you find that there is reason to get rid of them within the first or second year, I think it's a good idea that we fast track this legislation and ensure that those people that are not serving their people are kicked out. Some we have had members that have refused to listen to the voice of their constituents. From 2023, 2024, members made serious decisions that have brought our youth to the streets, and they don't want to take responsibility for that. Members who would not listen to the people but listen to the executive when they are making decisions. So I think the recall clause and the recall law needs to be fast-tracked so that members can also know that once you are elected, the people that elect you, they still have a say in whether you will serve or not.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm just reading at Section 45 of the Elections Act that provided that the electorate in a county or constituency may recall their MP before the end of the term. And of course, there is that requirement that Harvey is talking about. A recall of a member of parliament under subsection 1 shall only be initiated upon a judgment or finding by the High Court confirming the grounds specified in subsection 2. And then continues to say that a recall petition shall not be filed against a member of parliament more than once during the term of that member in parliament, and a person who unsuccessfully contested an election under this act shall not be eligible directly or indirectly to initiate a petition under this section. So I think this is the part that the High Court rendered to be unconstitutional because it sort of complicated the process of recalling, yet it's a right enshrined in the Constitution. Mheshimiwa Susan, your thoughts about this, and of course the work that IEBC is prioritizing?
Yeah, first, IEBC, I think, has a lot of work cut out for it, and I think as it begins, the new commissioners and the chair begin their tenure, and I believe these commissioners and chair are competent enough. These are competent Kenyans, highly skilled, well qualified, and recruited through a competitive and rigorous process. And therefore, the business cut out for IEBC, like number one, voter registration, which I believe it should even continue to election day. We should not doubt the process of allowing Kenyans to exercise their sovereign power, the pending by-elections, the audit of 2022 elections, the delimitation of boundaries. It's an item that is pending. And of course, the aspirational thinking of Kenyans of recalling members of parliament. So I believe we all should support IEBC, because IEBC will be very critical in delivering credible, verifiable elections in 2027. And once it delivers as envisaged, then the country will be in for peace and a more democratic era. Because indeed, Kenya is a democratic superpower politically, and that we should be preserved. It should be preserved, and IEBC has the mandate to do that. But allow me to weigh in on the recall clause. All these clauses that were placed in the Constitution were not mere wishes. Yeah. They are instruments to be exercised by the people of Kenya. And the Kenya Constitution 2010, together with the Vision 2030, envisaged to strengthen the political pillar of this country so that we have sanitized, clean, issue-based politics with leadership, the leadership standards being properly set and the bar being raised. So members of parliament who have failed to meet their mandate, I think that they should be subject to recall. And that recall, of course, you know, when you look at the Constitution, the sovereign power of the people can exercise directly or through their representatives. So that whatever any elected representative is doing is a collective wish and opinion of the electorate that they do represent. And I think setting difficult hurdles to implement that recall clause is not right. It's something that should be checked. We have seen impeachment processes, and it has worked in this country. There should be more impeachment. State officers who deserve to be impeached should be impeached with clear grounds without weaponizing that clause. So even recalling members of parliament who have failed should be allowed. And I think IEBC should consider one fundamental aspect that is going to empower Kenyans, and I'm sure Honorable Mbui here agrees with me, the extent of public participation. Do Kenyans have capacity to participate in such process, and even including recall clause? Right. The aspect of civic education of citizenry. That mandate should be given to IEBC, and maybe a proper curriculum developed for that, so that then IEBC at the counties and at the lower levels can conduct very effective civic education on certain aspects of the Constitution, like recall, so that then constituents are able to procedurally, without weaponizing those provisions in the Constitution, and credibly, with clear facts and with clear issues that can stand on four legs, can recall successfully members of parliament who fail in their mandate. And in doing so, we'll be setting the bar high in terms of leadership. So these provisions in the Constitution of recall and impeachment should be undertaken by Kenyans in a very meritorious and convincing manner, without looking like it is being politicized, it is being weaponized, because they were not just put in the Constitution for mere window dressing. These are gains that we have in the Constitution and should be implemented. So IEBC has a lot of work cut out for itself, and the sky is the limit. There's a lot of space for IEBC to expand itself and to stretch itself. We've seen in the UK, voters in the UK, the age of voting has been reduced from 18 to 16 years. It may be aspirational also for us to consider that young Kenyans at age 17 and 16 could be voting in future. And that can only happen if the delivery flagships of the IEBC can be so strong, qualitative, convincing to Kenyans, and can unite the country.
Okay. All right. And of course, the provisions of the Elections Act 45, 46, 47 outline the procedure of recalling, and it has a situation where the Commission, upon receiving such request, would verify the list of names within a period of 30 days of receipt of that list. And the Commission, if satisfied that the requirements of this section are met, shall within 15 days after the verification issue a notice of the recall to the Speaker of the relevant House. Thereafter, the Commission shall conduct a recall election within the relevant constituency within 90 days of the publication of the question. Section 47 continues to provide that where a Member of Parliament is to be recalled under Section 5, the Commission shall frame the question to be determined at the recall election. So that would be like the question referred to in subsection 1 shall be framed in such a manner as to require the answer yes or no. But then there's another provision that that recall election can only be valid if at least 50% of the registered voters participate in that election. And obviously, we'll wait to see how this happens. I thought there was I don't know if you can remember, there was a provision that it cannot happen within a particular period before the next general election?
I cannot recall the exact period of time.
Yeah.
But it must be two years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is closing.
It makes it almost
it
makes it almost difficult to achieve this goal.
Okay, all right. We're taking a short break here. When we come back, we'll be talking about the other key priorities because IEBC says that it is waiting for fresh writs from the speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate to declare 6 seats vacant. We're back in a moment.
6 seats.
To have a national dialogue or not to have a national dialogue? That is one of the debates as Kenya finds itself amid challenging times. What would a national dialogue look like? What have been the outcomes when it comes to the implementation of reports from previous dialogues? Join us for a hybrid Citizen Digital X Space this Tuesday at 7 p.m. as we engage experts and give you, our listeners, the mic and a chance to have your say on which way Kenya should go. Let your voice be heard. Hosted by Claire Munde.
Find a mentor who can guide you through your career path.
Join our September 2025 intake and experience vibrant student life, ultra-modern facilities, and expert global faculty dedicated to your success. ZTech University, inventing the future.
A comfortable diaper can make a significant difference in your baby's happiness. Choose diapers that are soft to the touch and have stretchy sides to provide a snug but gentle fit.
New Soft Care Space Series is rooted from space technology. Keeps you dry and comfortable for 12 hours long.
Soft Care. Protect your leap.
Bungoma mko tayari? Makala ya pili ya tamasha la AFC Leopards Awards Gala kwa udhamini mkubwa wa U45 branch yatafanyika tarehe 25 na 26 Masinde Muliro Stadium, Bungoma. Ni kubwa zaidi, bora zaidi, huku tukisherehekea utamaduni wetu kupitia kandanda na vyakula. Utapata burudani la roga live ndani ya CitizenTV. Tiketi ni shilingi 300 kwa mechi na roga show. Kisha 3,000 kwa gala night kwa mtu mmoja na 5,000 kwa wapenzi. Pata tiketi kupitia www.patatix.africa au kupitia Paybill. Njoo tusherehekee utamaduni wetu, tuwashabikie mashujaa wetu na kukuza soka yetu na AFC Leopards U45 branch.
Guess what? Citizen Duca now delivers! Get amazing discount on your favorite essentials and have them brought straight to your doorstep, all for just 200 shillings delivery fee. Go to citizenduca.com, select the product you want, pay, and we'll handle the rest.
Citizen Duca, the home of discount.
they will write to the commission. They'll issue something called a writ. Once those writs that expired have been reissued, then it gives us a window of about 90 days. So about 3 months, within which to execute our plan to hold those by-elections and to conclude with them.
Sasa IEBC imechaguliwa, wamekula kiapo, wako ofisi. Ile tunaomba viongozi hasa wa kisiasa, muache kuleta siasa isiyo na maana kwa IEBC, tuwaachie wafanye kazi. Let's leave them to settle in so that they can acclimatize and start working. Mimi naomba wabunge wangu mlioko hapa na wale wengine, tukifikia makadirio ya pesa hata ya supplementary, tusaidie IEBC kwa kuongezea pesa wafanye kazi, ili tukifika uchaguzi ujao tusiwe na shida yoyote.
Now, that's this chairperson of IEBC and later the Speaker of the National Assembly talking about the by-elections. Before we get to that, I just needed to clarify something. Section 45, subsection 4 of the Elections Act provides for the timelines of recalling and says that a recall under subsection 1 shall only be initiated 24 months after the election of Member of Parliament and not later than 12 months immediately preceding the next general election, meaning that the window to recall an MP opened in August 2024. It remains open until August 2026, by which time that will be 12 months to the next general election, which is in 2027. So there's still a window there because the Commission now has 30 days to consider those recall requests, and thereafter, once they are satisfied, to issue notice of recall to the relevant speakers of the two houses, so that is within 15 days, and thereafter a recall election can be conducted. We'll wait to see how that goes. But now back to the question of the by-elections. I'm just wondering, Mheshimiwa Mbui, the budget was just passed the other day, last month, less than, what's the day today, 21st, less than 3 weeks. We didn't know there was going to be by-elections and therefore managed to come up with a budget. We require a supplementary budget.
You know, I thought that the budget for IEBC that was given was enough for them to carry out their responsibilities within the period. So I'm even surprised because there was supposed to be enough money for them to be able to carry out the responsibility of registering voters, the responsibility of preparing. And in fact, let me say, the issue of the by-elections was actually one of the very first things that was discussed when it came to the issue of their budget under the Committee of Justice and Legal Affairs. So I'll be surprised if somebody was to tell me there was no money allocated, because that really was we knew that IEBC was going to be put in place, and we knew that they had a mandate. And in fact, if anything, it's been you know, the list has been growing ever since you know, since the last election, because they haven't been able to carry out any of these by-elections. Remember, the member for Banisa passed on soon after the last election, and since then these people have been without any representation.
Right.
Sometime last year, at least a year ago, some of the members of parliament who are now, you know, became experts and were actually recruited by the executive to go and carry out other responsibilities. Again, those are opportunities that came up, and their people are unrepresented. So I don't think it's a budgetary matter, Sam. I think there is enough money for them to be able to carry out these by-elections, if they are ready to do so. But Sam, I listened to the issue that was raised by the Speaker of the National Assembly on politicians allowing the IEBC to do their work, and I agree with him. The only thing is, I would also like to advise him to also stop politicking, because he is actually supposed to be a neutral arbiter when he sits in the floor of the House.
Yes.
And therefore, anytime he makes comments that are geared towards showing that he supports one side of the political divide, we know that is how you get into office. But there are certain offices, once you assume that office, then your neutrality must be seen at all times. So you cannot be in functions and you're saying 2 terms, because then you're already telling us that you're already biased.
Right.
I know that he got the support of the president to become the speaker. That is a fact that everyone knows. But the minute you become speaker, you must carry out the responsibilities of that office in a fair manner, so that even those that are not saying that it is 2 terms, those of us who are saying it is 1 term, we also must feel that the speaker is not part of this this game. So the speaker also has to be careful what he does.
Is there something we can do in the House?
I don't know whether there's anything we can do in the House. It's unless it's the numbers. The problem is the numbers. The problem is the numbers. We can initiate some. Let me tell you, there are 2 people that I would be very happy to initiate an impeachment. Yes, one of them is the speaker, the second one is the president. But I don't have the numbers, and I know I don't have the numbers. So I'll keep seeing whether I can convince some people to help me to be able to put sanity in those offices. Because as long as the speaker's office is not neutral, Parliament will never operate as it is expected. As long as the office of the president has so much, in my opinion, I think there's too many mistakes that are taking place in this country. Okay. Again, I think it is important that we sanitize this country so that we can have peace and we can move on. So I think there is talk that he was talking about. There are some issues he raised which I agree with him, the Speaker of National Assembly, on the matter of politicians constantly bashing IEBC. And let me tell you, there is about 2-3 members of Kenya Kwanza that have annoyed me. One of them is the women rep of Wajir, who publicly said that if the votes for the president are not enough in the next election, they will steal. I've heard the member for Kapsaret on several occasions saying they will do everything possible to ensure that William Ruto continues to serve as president. And in essence, it is not through the ballot. Beyond that, because we all know it's supposed to be through the ballot. It says, even if we don't manage, then we have the member for Tiati, who has also indicated that they know how to make a president serve for 24 years. Now, these kind of comments undermine the operations of IEBC. That is why IEBC team have come into office. The commissioners have just come into office, but they're already under pressure because there's sections of the country that believe there is an attempt to even rig the next election. And some of the comments, what they're meant to do, and I'll tell you, because we know that they cannot rig the election based on the existing laws. Because the electoral unit is actually the polling station. And we manage our polling stations, we have our people in the polling stations. Unfortunately, these comments have got the ability to convince some of the voters that since this election is already going to be, to be rigged in favor of certain individuals, since they don't want to lose their votes, they might cast their votes in favor of the person they're perceiving to be the one that will win. I've had that communication in my own constituency. People telling me, but what will you do? And they're going to steal. So you can see some kind of, despair. People thinking either we don't vote because our votes will not matter, or let us vote for a person because they will steal the vote anyway. So I think the comments that are being made by these members, these are the first members that should even be recalled by their own voters. Because they don't even seem to believe in the electoral process.
All right. And you say that you thought the money allocated would be sufficient. It's actually the chairperson who raises that question in saying the Secretariat has been liaising with Parliament and National Treasury to secure the necessary budgetary allocations before appointment of the chairperson and members are issued. We assure citizens in those respective areas that the Commission is committed to ensuring that their right of representation is realized in the shortest time possible. We shall update the country on the details, including timeline. So it appears that because they had requested for 15 billion shillings, they got about 9.6 billion shillings for the current financial year. It looks like, for sure, there is a challenge with the resources to run some of those programs.
Sam, let me confirm. Obviously, that money is enough to run the current by-elections that need to take place. It's enough for those by-elections. It may be difficult now to be able to clean up the voter register as is being proposed, because as people are saying, do away with the voter register and start afresh. And maybe even the continuous voter registration, because that requires a lot of funding. So that there could be issues, but I can tell you for sure that the money to do the by-elections is definitely there. But then again, the other problem could be also, exchequer releases. That yes, the money could be budgeted for, but then now being able to access the money for them to start their work might also be a problem. If they got the full amount that is allocated, or a big portion of that, they'll be able to carry out these by-elections without a problem.
Okay. All right. So there are those other concerns that are coming in, especially after Member of Parliament Jeho spoke. I want us to listen to the voices of the reactions that we've had from the Senator of Nairobi, but also the Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary and Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, because they have been at this issue. Let's hear what they have had to say. All right, we'll get to that shortly. But Mheshimiwa Sosion, talk to us about what you're witnessing, a bit of reckless talk. And I remember a statement from the IEBC the previous week saying that they are required to get into the business of managing how people conduct themselves when there's an election campaign and eventually an election. Now we don't have an election campaign, but people are speaking all manner of things in the way they will. How do we tame this as IEBC gets down to business?
Yes, we've had lots of statements across the country, and I think most of it is coming from our brothers in the legislature. And that is comedy within that space. And that comedy within that space should not spoil the operations of independent institutions. And of course, IEBC is not under the jurisdiction of Parliament. It is under Chapter 15, Independent and Constitutional Commissions. And I allowed the statements of Prime Cabinet Secretary and that of the Speaker of the National Assembly. All we need is leadership in all this, and we tame it and bring it under control. And I think the parliamentarians should be brought under control so that they don't make such reckless statements. You know, any statement, Kenyans take them very seriously. And we should choose our words very carefully. We are not in competition all the time. We are building a country within the pillars that are envisaged, political, economic, and social. And sometimes when we send out mixed signals, that fundamentally is not right. Those are statements by individuals making comic statements wherever they are. Those are not, it's not parliamentary position, it's not any government institution position. But I think...
you just find it comical, nothing else.
It looks comical, it's not serious. Tell me how somebody is going to cook a dish of enter the polling station, and it's supervised by IEBC, and an independent body with security agencies and with all the political parties present. I don't think this is the right time to begin talking about nonsense of that type. Me, I call it nonsense. It has no place in Kenya. We are a superpower democracy where a vote counts, but not ghost votes. There will be no ghost votes in any elections in Kenya. So if you want to win any election in Kenya, go to the electorate, talk to them, and the registered voters will vote and will count. Whoever wins an election becomes a leader at all levels, regardless of political parties. This is a democracy we want to build. But when we talk of we shall fill up some votes in some corner for so and so, I don't think that is applicable here in Kenya. It makes no sense for us to have an institutional position called IEBC, empower it, have a competent chair of high qualification who attended the same class with Nelson Havi. These are our sons who have done very well. Professor who was a vice chancellor, the best mathematician. And then you tell us that some nonsense happened in one polling station across the country. That is not tenable. I don't think that anybody is going to entertain in this country, right? It's from government, from president, and to all of us. The president will be re-elected on merit in 2027 based on the delivery of the promise he made in all the pillars from agriculture, MSME, housing, ICT, UHC, and all other general development in the economic ecosystem. So I'm not campaigning, and the voters will vote. and the counting will be done. Yes,
right.
Precisely. So this business of somebody adding votes,
you call it nonsense that should not even.
And the Mbui should take yes.
So you're calling it nonsense, but not everyone is taking it lightly as you are. Listen to Senator Sifuna, as well as Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi.
He's another one also making funny statements.
We want the IEBC to summon these people who are threatening to interfere with elections, not just condemn in a letter. We want them to be summoned there. And the NCIC, because we all know what happened in 2007. The precursor of the violence was the interference of the elections of 2007. So anybody who's talking about interference with the election is actually a threat to this country, and they must be dealt with. ODM will not protect anyone, even if it is from within our ranks.
Kwa sababu unataka upigiwe makofi ama uchekeshe watu, unasimama hapa unasema hata kama ni kuibia Ruto kura tutaiba, hata kama ni kufanya nini tutaiba. My friend, ukiwa ni una support serikali ama ukiwa uko kwa opposition, let us not tusipake Mheshimiwa William Ruto matope ya kusema kwamba tutamuibia kura. IEBC will conduct free and fair elections. Now William Ruto will win in 2027 through free and fair elections.
And we shall tell it, Chairman Etukon, the new chairman of IEBC, look at the history of others who have not acted in accordance, who have tried to thwart the expectations of the Kenyan people and what has befallen them. History is very clear. You either serve your nation, but if you are going to serve a person, my learned friend, because you are king, you should expect the natural consequences of your action. Now, usianze kwanza ati kusema kuthreaten watu.
Usianze kuthreaten watu. Isn't he threatening the chairperson at the same time? Mheshimiwa Havi, your take about this, because politicians are not going anywhere. They'll still play their politics, but you still have a country to run, and an election whose credibility we must protect. How do you do that?
Permit me to disagree with Mwalimu Sosion. What is imagined can be done, especially when the imagination is pronounced by the king jesters. I mean, the two MPs that are accused of making these statements are, for all practical purposes, the jesters. The most important thing is for the king to call them out and tell them, you're not speaking on my behalf. So for as long as the king doesn't do that, then there is credible merit in this sphere. And I don't think it is the realm of comedy. We've had these problems before. Every presidential election in Kenya has been challenged in court. On what grounds? On suspicions of vote theft. So taking that into account, there is merit in what our Senator for Nairobi, Edwin Sifuna, has said. IEBC has to summon these individuals. The Director of Criminal Investigations has to take action. The Director of Public Prosecution has to take action. When that is said and done, I don't see the place of the Prime Cabinet Secretary and the Speaker of the National Assembly in this enterprise. They're supposed to be neutral. They're not even supposed to be speaking about it. For the Speaker of the National Assembly, there's already a declaration by the High Court of Kenya of impartiality on his part, of conflict of interest. He needs to keep quiet and let the bodies charged with this responsibility do their work. I mean, you may fault Justin Muturi for many things, but for the time that Justin Muturi served as Speaker of the National Assembly, he didn't engage in active politics in the manner in which my friend Moses Wetangula is doing. So let action be taken against these individuals. They're inciting the public. You understand? We have resources deployed in arresting small children for speaking their mind, but we can't deploy similar resources for arresting these politicians and elected members of the National Assembly who are committing more egregious offenses than even the misdemeanors we accuse these children of doing. I mean, we have Boniface Mwangi today arrested for terrorism. What terrorism? You can't arrest these two MPs who are spewing hate speech and inciting the people. There is a fundamental problem here.
Okay. Interesting. And we're to see what happens, but more importantly about keeping the sanity of the country. That sounds funny, actually, sanity. Now, at Quality 8, 4A and B, this is a message from Justin Muturi, who says that Raila Odinga is wrong in proposing that ID cards be used straight to the ballot, because 88, 4A and B says that the Commission is responsible for conducting or supervising referenda and elections to any elective body, and specifically the continuous registration of citizens as voters and the regular revision of the voters' roll. So he says that if you had to use IDs as automatic to vote, then you'll have to amend the Constitution and the law to provide exactly for that. But for the moment, management of elections require every Kenyan who is of age with an ID card or a passport, a Kenyan passport, to register to take part in an election. And that's why the continuous voter registration comes in. IEBC says that they will be ready to issue a gazette notice come August on the resumption of